Spencer Horwitz was, in my initial assessment, too old to be a prospect, too low power to be manning a corner position, and two platoon splits, if you will, for someone who's supposed to be playing every day. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Cardinals 7, Pirates 6 last night in St. Louis on a walk-off blast by Eric Burleson, who happens to be St. Louis's first baseman and who also happens to be on quite a roll of late for those guys. From the Pittsburgh perspective, Johan Oviedo made another start, 1 run, 3 hits, and a walk over 4 innings. He struck out 5, pitched fine, was lifted after 53 pitches, coming off Tommy John. I'll have to presume that there's a plan behind that. Andrew Heaney came in, and man, he never stops getting bombed anymore, does he? 5 runs, 5 hits, 4 of those hits in a row, over 2/3 of an inning. Offensively, Horwitz homered. So did Brian Reynolds. Ronnie Simon came up with a really critical at the time tying RBI double at the top of the 9th. Horwitz's season stats at this stage look a little closer to what they were expected to be when he was acquired. And while I know there aren't exactly, parades to be thrown for that sort of thing, you do get a little tired of seeing player after player after player come to Pittsburgh and then just get worse. So at the very least, he hasn't gotten worse. He's whatever he was before this. It's a 727 OPS. That's lower than his 759 career mark. At 329 on base percentage, that's lower than his 344 career mark. 258 batting average, that's lower than his 262. Okay, so maybe he has gotten a little bit worse. But of late, I don't think anybody could dispute this, he's been better than he was. And for full context, let's remember that he had a wrist surgery in the offseason that kept him out of all of spring training and part of the regular season. This, of course, having been a known wrist issue, according to Cherington himself, who went ahead and made the trade anyway. There are times when you watch Horwitz and you think to yourself, dude, it looks like he can hit. Just throwing out all the analytics and everything else here, you just look at him and you go, yeah, there's something there. And there's been more of that in the past month than any other month. And he's been in Pittsburgh, batting .311 over the past 30 games alone, 5 home runs, 22 RBIs. And that's pretty nice. That's a nice month for a first baseman anywhere. And when you add into it that he's more than competent defensively, occasionally will make a really nice play over there, you might think there's something more coming. Here's the problem with that. To revisit my original cynical sentiment, all of that still applies. All of it. For this season, he's got 7 home runs in 310 plate appearances. He's got 25 total extra base hits. And no, of course, that isn't the power that you want, that you need from any corner position, let alone first base. In parentheses, this doubly applies when you also don't have third basemen who can hit home runs. Or, while I'm on the subject, left fielders. Then there's the platoon thing. Horwitz hits .270 against right-handers. He hits .171 against lefties. Almost exactly 100 points lower. In any sane setting, he's actually platooning. He's not just being denigrated as such. Somebody else would be facing all those lefties. And if you don't take my word for it, take the Pirates' own word for it. Because they don't even want him seeing those guys. He has 244 at-bats against righties, 35 against lefties. So, what's there? You could describe a lot of different players on this roster as serviceable pieces. players, and for that matter, people that you wouldn't cut up. This is a really good dude. I'd put Isaiah Kiner-Falefa in that same stratosphere. He's a professional, hits well enough, fields well enough, sets a nice example. But none of these, if I were to continue down this list, are contender-type pieces. It's Jared Triolo's turn now. He's gotten a little bit more room to breathe with Ke'Bryan Hayes traded to Cincinnati. He's still a Gold Glover, and of late he's been, like Horwitz, on something of a roll. 10 for his last 22 with a couple home runs. Nice. Good for him. For the season, he's batting .218 with 5 home runs and 17 extra base hits to show for 244 plate appearances. I bring these guys up, including Horwitz, not to pick on them, not to try to be the buzzkill when they're hitting well, but rather to point out that this is why. This is the worst hitting team in all of Major League Baseball. It isn't just the extreme examples. It's that you are regularly sending out there a first baseman and a third baseman, and again, a left fielder who can't hit. Those are your premier hitting positions. So no, what they're doing isn't okay, and no, what Horwitz is doing isn't any solution to anything. When we come back, J1Q.
This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern, that's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Sean says, so DK, I see that the Pirates have this crazy home-away split with their record. They're now 39-30 at PNC Park, 18-45 everywhere else. With that in mind, is it possible that the Pirates are cheaping out something like their hotels or team meals that's making the players perform worse? I feel nuts for bringing it up. But at the same time, you can't put anything past this owner, and those splits are just too blatant to be left to just chance. I swear there is nothing that this team's fan base won't attach to Bob Nutting if it's negative. Nothing. I don't even just mean related to the Pirates. I'm talking about in the world. But no, to answer your question in the most literal way, Sean, the Pirates travel really, really, really well. Their arrangements, their accommodations, the food that the team sets up for them, meaning for pregame and postgame, is out of this world. And then, of course, any food that they happen to eat anywhere else comes with the Major League Baseball Players Association per diem, so they can spend just as much as the Dodgers do, which, of course, doesn't answer your main question, which is why are they this bad on the road? My explanation for this is, I'm not going to lie to you here, I think it's a little bit boring, but I also happen to believe it. Try to act surprised when I tell you that it's because they can't hit. See, I'm of the view that their pitching, in particular their starting pitching, is pretty good, and it's good enough that they should be able to win anywhere if they could just hit even at an ordinary rate. I've been over those numbers with you in the past. If they were only the 24th best hitting team in all of Major League Baseball. Their entire record, not just home and road, would look stunningly better than what it is. Why? Because then they'd be averaging 4.0 runs per game. And when they score 4 or more runs, they are now 36-19, including the rare loss in that category last night. I don't feel the same way, of course, about the hitters. If you want to talk about home-road splits, and you got into the difference between the impact that it has on the pitching and the impact that it has on the hitting, it's night and day. The hitters just die on the road. And to that, I'm just going to get lazy here and say that there's something psychological to that. Because this something that I've experienced, and way more important than that, I've heard the athletes themselves describe. Not this year, I just mean overall, my career covering baseball. Hitters like to go to the plate and feel good about themselves. They like to feel that energy that comes from the crowd. On those rare and precious occasions when the Pirates get on any kind of a roll offensively, it's almost always at PNC, and it happens to come in a chain. I was speaking with Nick Gonzalez about this just earlier this month. He said it affects everything about you as a hitter. Maybe it shouldn't, but it does when somebody in front of you does something well, or a couple somebodies in front of you do something well. You feel like, all right, it's my turn. Here I come. Well, that doesn't happen in places that aren't PNC Park. What does happen, unfortunately, I further believe, is that they're just their true selves in those settings. Nothing extra to it. Here, you want some more evidence of that? Who's the one guy on the entire roster you would expect to be most immune to something like a home-road split? Yeah, Kutch. Well, Andrew McCutchen happens to lead the team in road OPS at 700. That's among qualified players anyway. Nick Gonzalez also has a very good road OPS at 782. Otherwise, here's Brian Reynolds, who's got a 634 OPS, has never played a single important game in the majors. Believe me, that's not some isolated shot at him. That's just a fact. So maybe he goes to some place that's got, 58,000 people standing and screaming, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. O'Neal Cruz on the road, 608. And I'm just looking at some random names here. Henry Davis, my God. Henry Davis is 12 for 88 on the road. That's a 136 batting average. I think I've kind of made the point here. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.